made a huge mistake when I first started casting with resin, and today I am here to make sure you don't make the same mistake. Hi, I'm Sam. I am the owner and dice maker over at Artemis Dice Company, and I am a resin artist. I predominantly make dice with resin. When I first started casting, I was so excited to make usable, functional dice to impress all of my friends at our D&D table that I skipped over a whole bunch of steps. In fact, the very first time I ever mixed resin in my entire life, I poured it into very complicated dice molds. It was awful, and I made the worst dice you can possibly imagine. Those molds were absolutely terrible, and if I had done other resin art first, I may have still had the exact same results. However, I do wish I had started with a simpler project for my first resin pour, and that is what we're gonna do today. If you have been following along with my resin dice making tutorial, last week you may have purchased one of the 4 resin starter kits that I mentioned on my channel. Today, I am going to be showing you how to make coasters using one of those kits. Now, it doesn't matter which one you bought, or even if you bought something totally different, as long as you have coaster molds, you should be able to follow along with this tutorial. I am going to be using the Let's Resin starter kit today. I am only going to be using things that came in this kit, with the exception of my resin tools, my silicone mat, things like that. This kit comes with mica powder, flowers, resin, and foil. So those are going to be the items I'm going to be focusing on for this beginning coaster pour. Whether you want to be a resin dice maker or not, this is a really great first project for anybody who wants to get into resin crafting, and I am going to show you step by step exactly what you need to do to make this coaster, how to mix your resin, how to cure it, all of that. Coasters are such a good first project because it's a simple shape, they're flat, it doesn't have a lid, as opposed to dice, which are weird shapes and have lids and strange little holes in the case of my first mold. So yeah, do as I say, not as I do. For this video, I am not going to be using a pressure pot, but you are going to see me using a heating pad. Yes, just one of those heating pads that you use on your body. No, I don't use it on my body anymore. The reason for this is because it's super cold outside, and resin does not like to be cold. So if I want it to cure properly, I need to introduce some type of warming element to the curing process. Otherwise, it's gonna take a year for my coaster to cure. So for the sake of that, I'm gonna be using the heating pad just to make sure that resin stays at that 70-degree temperature that it needs to be at to cure. I'm also going to be using a heat gun and a lighter to pop bubbles. You can also use a torch. Grab your PPE, which is your super sexy safety gear, respirator with cartridges for VOCs, nitrile gloves, something to protect your clothing, and we're ready to go make some coasters. The 2 techniques I'm going to show you today for the coasters can translate into dice making, although of course your results are going to be very different once you pour them into dice molds. Come along with me to make your first resin project. Let's go make some coasters.
If you are absolutely brand new to resin casting and you have never cracked open a bottle of epoxy resin in your life, please make sure you read the instruction manual that comes with your resin before you get started on this project. There is going to be information in that specific to the resin you have purchased, so I cannot fill you in on all of the details that may have been included in that instruction manual. Now, the very first thing I do when I start casting any resin project is set up my workspace. In this case, that's going to mean pulling out all of the materials that you want to use to make your coaster. I am doing 2 different techniques in this video, so I pulled out a couple different colors of mica powder, my foils, and the cups I'm going to need to mix everything in. Please make sure when you are pulling out your resin for the first time that you are already wearing gloves. This is a brilliant example of that because the resin was all over the bottles, it was all stuck together, and I had to pry it out of the little Ziploc bag that it came with. Resin is toxic in its liquid, uncured form, and you do not want to be touching it. I could not tell the resin had leaked until I already had started to open that bag. This is why it is so important that you already be wearing your gloves. Once you have the materials that you want to use prepared and you have your gloves on and your respirator on, it is time to to measure and mix your resin. I know this probably sounds like such an easy step for most of you, but it is so important in both the measuring and the mixing that you are incredibly precise with your resin. Improper mixing and improper measuring can both lead to a ton of problems that will render your resin project completely useless. This resin is a 1-to-1 ratio resin, but that is not the case for all resins. Make sure that you have the proper ratio, and when you are measuring that ratio, you need to be incredibly precise. We're not eyeballing this, we're not getting close enough. We want to make sure that we measure exactly the right amount. Since this is a 1-to-1 ratio, I am going to do 50 milliliters of my resin and then 50 milliliters of my hardener. Epoxy resin is always 2 parts, part resin, part hardener, and you want to make sure that you get the ratios exactly correct, or else your resin is going to be sticky or possibly squishy, and both of these things are bad because your resin will still be toxic. Once you have poured your proper amounts, in this case equal parts resin and hardener, into your cup, it is time to mix. It is really important that you do not mix quickly. Mixing quickly can lead to improper mixing, and it also is going to create a crap ton of bubbles. By going too fast, you also may not mix it well enough, which could possibly lead to a final project that is just not properly cured. When you are mixing nice and slowly, you also want to make sure that you're scraping the sides of your cup and the bottom of your cup. I personally like to mix for at least 3 to 4 minutes, but there are going to be a couple of signs that you can watch for that I'm going to demonstrate here in this video. The very first step after your resin and hardener are mixed together is you're going to see this almost stringy patterns in your resin, and that is basically just the differences in the makeup of the resin and the hardener. As you continue to mix and blend those together, your resin is going to become rather foggy. This is normal. It is also a sign that your resin is not properly mixed yet. You're going to want to keep going until your resin is nice and clear, and if you see any lines or any streaks of whiteness, you're not quite there yet. You want to mix until your resin is crystal clear. There are going to be bubbles. There's going to be a lot less bubbles if you mixed nice and slowly. I know what you're seeing in my cup is quite bubbly, but this is in part because it's really cold in my workshop when I'm making this tutorial. Ideally, you don't want to mix your resin in a room that's temperature is below 70 degrees. But I am also aware of the fact that resin getting too cold too quickly can lead to a slew of problems. So that is why you're going to see me using my heat gun a lot in this project. And that is just because I want to make sure that resin is staying at around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. For this first pour, I am going to be using a technique called a milk bath. Usually for a milk bath, I would be using resin dye or pigment paste, but this kit only came with mica powder. So I am going to go ahead and pour off a little bit of my mixed resin into a smaller cup and start by mixing in some of that white mica powder. Mica powder is always going to have like a sheen or a sparkle, a little bit of incandescence to it, which is why I would usually use something flat like a resin dye for this. But the result is still going to be really nice. It's just going to be a little bit more sparkly, and you may see a bit more movement in the final product. I am adding clear, translucent resin to the bottom of the coaster to begin this pour, and you see me using the heat gun. I am trying to make sure that this resin stays nice and thin and workable because the temperature in my garage is well below the 70 degrees that resin needs to stay at. I really like incorporating flowers into a milk bath. The very nature of this pour is for it to be semi-translucent or semi-opaque, however you prefer to think about it. So those flowers will just kind of peek through, giving a really beautiful, delicate feel to the final project. For this, I am going to use 4 flowers, and I was going for a really soft, feminine vibe for this pour. I think my mind is already hardwired into Bridgerton. So I chose pinks, a light purple, and white as my flower choices. And as you can see, I'm putting them face down. This style of coaster mold has a very clear top and bottom, but that's not always going to be the case. For this one, we do need to make sure those flowers are facing down so that you can see them when the coaster is actually facing up. Next, I am going to mix up some of this copper flake into a cup with just a little tiny bit of resin into it. I stir this pretty fast and kind of break up the flake to make it smaller. And then I'm just going to spoon a little bit at a time into the coaster mold. I really want this flake to settle all around the edges of the mold. So you see me filling that in, but then I'm also putting it in the middle and on the top. I do want this copper flake to be throughout the piece. Some people also will just mix it directly into their larger cup of resin. I like doing it this way because it offers a little bit more control. Now I am finally going for that opaque element, that white mica powder that we mixed up at the beginning. Because I'm using mica powder, which has a shimmer, you can see a little bit more movement in this white than you would if you were using something flat. And I'm also going to use the heat gun to kind of stir it and mix it all around into the coaster a little bit more. Of course, you can use a popsicle stick for mixing as well. After the opaque white is all blended and mixed in, I'm going to top it off with more translucent. A milk bath is a semi-opaque, so we want to make sure that we don't have too much of the opaque element, but we also don't want too much of that clear translucent element. So I prefer to do it in layers in this way. That's really it for this milk bath pour. I am just hitting it with the heat gun one final time to pop the bubbles. You can also use a torch, and I will be leaving this to cure overnight on the heating pad. But first, we have to move on to the second design that I am going to be showing you. And I don't know if this has a name. I like to call it a mica powder sprinkle, and I have done this with dice, and I just sprinkled it right over the dice molds. For this, I'm actually sprinkling the different colors of mica powder down before I even add any resin, because I have a much bigger workspace with this coaster mold than I do with dice molds. After I have all 4 of the colors down, I am going to add in my resin. I'm pouring this a little bit high and very slowly because I don't want to disturb that mica powder too much. I don't want to mix it in. I want this to look like splashes of mica powder or splashes of paint or graffiti. That is 100% the vibe we are going for here. So I'm not going to be mixing it. I'm even being really careful with the heat gun to make sure that that mica powder doesn't blend into that translucent resin too much. Next, I am just cleaning up my workspace before I leave those coasters to cure. All of the stuff that came with the Let's Resin kit are plastic. The resin is not just going to pull out of this like it would with silicone mixing cups. So it's really important to spray everything down if you want to have them for multiple uses. And of course, I'm just spraying down the heating pad I was working on, and I even lifted up and spray down my silicone mat before I leave everything to cure. I waited about 15 hours before I demolded these coasters, and they were nice and cured. These turned out so good. I was in love with how the milk bath turned out, and you could see those flowers poking through just as I had hoped. I was very impressed, but the milk bath mold did not really need any additional work. I didn't have anything to clip or clean up. I don't even feel any edges that are going to need to be hit by a little bit of sandpaper. However, my mica powder drop coaster mold was not so lucky. I definitely over poured a little, and so I had some excess resin I had to clip off, and I will eventually need to sand this down and try to polish it and get it a little more shiny. After this cleanup step, a lot of people like to do a top coat on their coasters. I don't, however, it is something I may attempt in the future if I were to start selling coasters. But for now, for just me and my family and the people I give these coasters to, I think they look perfect and don't need anything else. If you are interested in learning how to top coat a coaster or a bookmark, that is something that we could possibly explore down the line. So just leave me a comment and let me know if you would like a tutorial video on that in the future. I really hope this video helped you have a better understanding of working with resin, and I will be back next week with the direct continuation of my resin dice casting tutorial for beginners. If you liked this video, please click like. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel. I hope you all stayed very warm during this week of crazy snow, and I will be back next week.